in case you need it. All right. Today we're going to do graphing because I think that's what I left off on. I think y'all had y'all's test on 6.1 through 6.5, right? So the first page of notes will be called General Properties. This basically has to do with the algebraic portion, not the actual graphing, but just the algebraic portions of graphing. The first part is about the slope. There's two parts. One is slope, and the other one is finding the equation. But slope uses two things to find the slope of an equation. And this is, I'm going to put equations right here because algebraic and equations. Because you're not really going to be doing any graphing with these notes. This is just properties and how to find stuff. Okay, now slope is given by the variable m. The slope can be found or it can be calculated. Now, how can it be found? Well, in the general form of the general equation for a line is y is equal to mx plus 0, or y is equal to mx plus b. And if you notice, there's an m. That's the coefficient of x. Whatever that coefficient is the slope of the line. Now that's how you find the slope. In other words, they give you an equation and you just look at it. Now, to calculate the slope, you have to remember what the slope is. Vertical over horizontal. Okay? Now, vertical over horizontal means the change of y, change of y over the change of x. That's the way it's written. Now, a lot of people don't write it that way because you really can't do any calculating. You have to define what the change in y is. The change in y is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And that is the slope equation. And that's how you calculate the slope. So, depending on the question, you'll ascertain if you're going to find the slope or if you're going to calculate the slope, which is this right here. Now, what type of questions will you have? The first type question will just give you an equation. And if it's an equation they give you, then you're going to have to find the slope. So you're going to have to solve for y. And then if you solve for y, you can find what? M. And when you find m, notice I said find, you just look at it. Now the second type equation, the second type which you would calculate is you're going to be given 2 points. And then you calculate using that equation. Okay, so that's the slope. Now, I have skipped a little bit because I think most of you have had pre-algebra. And you have to have pre-algebra in Math 101 to get into 155. So I'm assuming that you remember, that the X and the Y axis and how to plot a point and how to draw a line between 2 points. I'm assuming you already know that. Okay? And this is just a little bit of a refresher over the stuff that you already know. So we're going to do a couple of examples. And this is just slope examples. Given y is equal to 2x plus 6, find the slope. And then you can go out here and say m is equal to 2 over what? 1 or what? 2. And where did that 2 come from? The equation is the coefficient of what? Of x. Coefficient of x. Now what if I give you this one? And it says find the slope. What do you do? Solve for y, Hubert. Yes, that's right. That's what I just said on the previous page. I was supposed to remember what I wrote on the previous page. Negative 3x plus 6. Y'all still on vacation. And now what? Divide by what? Divide by 3. And y is equal to negative 1x plus what? So what is our coefficient? M is equal to.
I'm sorry, I just want to say that I'm trying to.
That's fine. This is fine. All right, so that's how you find y. Find m. Sorry. Now, make sure you circle find, because you really don't calculate the slope on these. You just find the slope. How about this one? Move the 6 to the other side. And m is equal to what? There's 3 examples of finding the slope. All right, now, with calculating the slope, you may have 3 different type questions. 1, let me just find or calculating the slope. Calculating the slope, there's 3 types of questions. 1, they give you a graph with, of course, boxes behind it. You know, the boxes, I'm not going to draw the boxes because it'll mess it up. And then they give you a line like that. And they tell you to calculate the slope. So what do you have to find? To what? You have to actually find 2 points. And I'm just going to draw a dot here and here. Now the red means that the student has to find the points. Right? And they're going to give you, it'll be on graph paper. Grid paper. I'm going to put grid paper with problem. Okay, it'll be on a grid, and you'll be able to find 2 corners that match up. Okay, not all the time you're given that. Most of the time you're given the second one versus the first one. In the second type problem, you'll have a line, and they will give you 2 what? Points. The black means that it's given. The black dots mean that they give you the points. Okay? So in this problem, they give you the points. And here, you have to find the points to start with. Okay? So that's, and you're talking about maybe 30% of your questions will be one of these. 70% is going to be like this. Given 2 points like this. Now that's what most of the time you're given. And the first thing you do when you're doing any of these points is assign x of 1, or assign your first point and your second point. Which way do we read? So this is your first, and this is your second. First, second. First, second. You'd be surprised at how many people screw that up. And they've been reading all their life. If they get the math, they go from right to left. They'll figure that out. So, this is x of 1, y sub 1. This is x of 2, y sub 2. This is x of 1, y sub 1. This is x of 2, y sub 2. What do you think this is going to be? Well, this is x of 1, x y sub 1. This is x of 2, y sub 2. So now, what do you do to calculate your slope on the third one? Because we don't have numbers on the first two. Plug and what? Plug and chug. Now, if you don't know the formula for the slope, you're pretty much SOL. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 2. First thing I tell students to do, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. First thing I tell students to do is draw parentheses. Now, why do I tell students to draw parentheses? Because you're plugging in numbers. What if one of them's a fraction? What if one of them's a negative? And you got to plug in that negative, and you got another negative here. So draw the parentheses. 90% of the students that miss this type problem, guess what they don't do? They don't do the parentheses. They know it. They already know too much. They know it all. Plug and chug. Well, I'll go ahead and plug me in right here. So what is y sub 2? Somebody tell me what y sub 2 is. 4. Good job. What is y sub 1? 3. X sub 2 and x sub 1. And just do the math. 4 minus 3 is 1. 4 minus 2 is, and you just calculated. So you're going to be given 2 points, some way, somehow. Either by the first 2 graphically, or the last one algebraic, or in a number sense. The first thing you do is assign your first point and your second point. You do that by going left to right. And then you label the 2 points, x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. And then you plug and chug. Mm-hmm. What?
I can't. This over here, but besides 70% it says X to the 1.
Y to the 1.
Yeah. But it changed to X to 2. It threw me off. That's why I was like, why did it turn 4? But I need it. He's right down my
Y sub 2 is 4. And y sub 1
yeah,
is 3.
But either way, I think I figured it out, man. So,
Let's try another. I always do 2 or 3 on this one. Well, I gotta throw some negatives in there. So y'all will be ready for a test. And see if you use parentheses so you don't screw it up. So this is x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. Plug and chug. All right, what's y sub 2? What's y sub 1?
4.
What's x sub 2? What's x sub 1? 6 minus 4 is 2. Be careful. 6 minus a negative 2. Good job. So your slope is 1/4.
I'm still not. I got 36. I did. I still. I just said no.
Where did you get second power?
Because we want to.
You are a loser.
I know. Explain to me why.
This is what you need to do. Quit.
That ain't happening, so tell me how to do the thing.
I think you didn't read your notes right. I think you're thinking that subscript is a square. I think that's what you're doing.
That's what I'm thinking, yes.
Yeah, it's not. It's down at the bottom. It's not even a, you gotta, when you see a subscript like that, that means your first y or your second y. In this case, it would be your second y.
Okay, so.
Minus x sub x to, I'm sorry, y sub n. Oh, jumping away. Sorry. Y sub 1, that means your first. When you see, anytime you see a subscript, and I'm not talking about just math, I'm talking about in science, that means your second one and your first one, whatever it says, third. Y sub 3 would be third.
So it's called a subscript?
Yeah, subscript. It's down below. It has no mathematical value whatsoever.
Gotcha. Now I understand that.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. All right, and that's how you calculate the slope. Huh? Yeah, really good. They celebrate the 10 years today, so yeah, forget that. Yep.
It was presented by me.
Well, one of the reasons this campus is here is because of Michelin and Bosch and First Quality. That's why it's here.
It was something about Michelin is partnering with them to start a new program for the so that's why
They help fund that.
they're starting some kind of program.
Just like companies up in the East that help fund diesel tanks.
They do.
They help fund, yeah, the building of it and, supporting it and partners, like she said, partners. And then we have program partners also, which, when Lakeside opens, it's going to be a big shot in the arm for Tri-County and District 3, District 4, and District 5. It's going to really help out both entities because we'll be teaching classes over there and they'll be teaching classes over here and so forth. All right, so what's next? Well, after we find the slope, then we can use, when you see these words in the directions, we can then find an equation. And to find an equation of a line, we use this. Now, why do you think it's called the point-slope equation? Because you need a point and a what? To do the equation. Point-slope equation is, now it looks very complicated, but it's not. Once you label your points, it's not complicated. Y minus y sub 1 is equal to m times x minus x sub 1. There's the point slope equation, so you need to, that's highlighted, so that's about the third or fourth thing that you need to highlight.
Hey, where is the last one?
I'm sorry, ma'am.
The last one?
Not in this one. I mean, you're gonna use it to find a, well, just hold that thought. Okay? Now, there's three types of problems that you'll see with this. One is kind of like the last one. One, they're gonna give you a graph, and you either pick the points, or they what? They give them to you, okay, in a graph. Okay, that's two types. The other is to give you 2 points like this. 2, 3, 8, 8. That's another way. And then the third, which is the easiest, they give you a point, and they give you a what? Slope. Now there's the three type questions that you would have with this. Now, both of these, what do you not have? The first two, what do you not have for the point slope equation? You don't have the slope, so you have to what? You have to calculate the slope. So with these two type questions, if they say find an equation, because that's what the key words are in the directions. The directions say find an equation, you're going to have to use the point slope equation. But in the first two type problems, you don't have a slope, so you have to calculate. So we're going to use number 2. I want you to find that slope. Number 2, find that slope, because I've shown you how to do that. And then we'll go from there. So, first thing to do is label your points. So M is equal to parenthesis minus parenthesis over parenthesis minus parenthesis. What's y sub 2? 8. What's y sub 1? X sub 2 and x sub 1. So that gives us 5 over what? 6. Okay. So now we got a point, we got a slope, and all we need is a what? A point. So I'm going to pick one of my points. Which one do you think I'm going to pick? 2, 3. Why? It's the first one, but there's another reason. Small numbers means easy what? Easy math. Exactly. Unless you like whips and chains, pick 101 and 102 if you want to. or whatever point you want to find on the book, but there's no use in that, it's just extra work. So you're going to label this one x of 1 and y of 1, because you only got 1 point, and you got slope. Now plug and chug. Y minus parentheses equals parentheses. I'm going to use brackets for the x part. X minus parentheses. All right, plug and chug. So what goes in the y sub 1 spot? And what goes in the m spot? And what goes in the x sub 1 spot? Now we got to do solve for y. Distribute 5, 6. That's going to be y minus 3 is equal to 5, 6x minus 5 over 6 times 2 over 1. Multiplying 5, 6 times 2. Y minus 3 is equal to 5, 6 x. And what happens to the 6 and the 2? That's the 3. So 5/3. Now we got to bring that 3 over. But it's got to be thirds, so it'll be 9/3. So y is equal to 5, 6 x minus 5/3 plus 9/3. And the reason I got that 9/3 is I changed that 3/3 into what? 9/3, because you got to have a common what? Denominator. And brought it over is 9/3. Y'all got this written down, we'll use it on our next example. Wait a minute. It's almost the same. I'll change the numbers on this one. Right here. So y is equal to 5, 6x plus what? Now I ask students what is that, and they say, oh, okay, well, let me show you. When you learn how to graph it, I mean, y'all probably know how to graph it. 2 and 3 is my point. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Then we got a slope of 5, 6, which means every 5 I go over 6. So it'd be something like this. 5 and 5 is a 45-degree angle, so it'd be something like this. Now we know the equation for this line. The equation for this line is right here. And that's what you're finding. You're finding the equation for the line. Anybody going into business, marketing, or science, or engineering, or math? Well, really any, because anybody you work for is going to show you some kind of a graph showing you what? A correlation. Either you're losing money or you're what? You're gaining money, or whatever the case may be. Gaining patients, losing patients. Defects in the assembly line, no defects in the assembly line. Whatever the case may be, whatever career you're in, you're going to see a chart before it's over with. Somebody's going to present you with a chart that says, look, we're going downhill, or we're going uphill, we're doing good. Safety. Wherever you work, there's always safety. There's a safety factor. That they always want the safety factor to be what? 0. They want it to be 0, low. Yes, it's low. They want it to be 0. And sometimes you'll go into a factory or an industry, and in the front of the front entrance, what do they have? Safety factor, 0. Safety. Accidents since 2007, 0. That's a big thing in industry because it's liability. And liability affects your paycheck.
It affects your paycheck in the bonus as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have the 0 and the less like defects of what you have, some companies like Howard Canal and we got up to 10% of our yearly income.
Mhm.
And every time you get something, they knock it down.
Same thing with Walmart. You, what's shrinkage? What's shrinkage? When somebody steals something.
Yeah.
If somebody steals a $10 item at Walmart, they will take that $10 that they lost and they will factor it into the pricing for the next year. Now, $10 is not much, but you take $10 times 5,000 stores, which they have, and that's $50,000. They take that $50,000, which is shrinkage, and they put it into next year's budget, so their prices go up 2% or whatever to take up for that shrinkage, which still affects your paycheck, because then that 50,000 they may have to take to supplement that 50,000. They may have to take it out of something else. So everything cause and effect. The matrix. Remember matrix, the second matrix? I've told you this before, haven't I? I drink too much wine. I have to pee. Remember when he says that in the restaurant? Same thing. And I hate to use that, but it's true. Same thing for SUVs. If you get a small SUV, it's going to get good what? If you get a large SUV, it's going to have what? Bad gas mileage. There's nothing you can do about that. Cause and effect. That's what this shows, and you can figure out, and then I can predict where we're going to reach. When we're going to reach a profit of $200 at this quantity. I can do it with this right here. Okay, so the next one we had, I'm going to just change it. I'm not going to use the one we had. -5 and 5. And M is equal to 4. All right, do that. Now this one, you don't have to calculate because you're given X of 1 and 1. You've got the points already, so all you got to do is plug in 1. That's it. Any good movies during the break? I've already watched all my movies on my Fire Stick. I'm waiting for another new one to come out. New couple of movies to come out. Kong was good. And I'm not a King Kong fan. I don't really care anything about King Kong, but it was a good movie. There's another one then. I told you I saw John Wick 2, the second one. That's pretty good. God, I had to watch the Batman Lego movie. I usually like and then I had to watch the mowing. I just take Bug Bunny and Roadrunner any day. Yeah, whatever. You did what?
I woke up 7 hours first.
Oh, gosh.
I thought I had big eyes.
That's allergies, probably allergies.
I thought a really nasty stomach. I got some CC cream in my eye Saturday. So I couldn't have sleep. Have you seen the new advertisement for Ghost or whatever? With Scarlett Johansson?
No, I'm drunk about that woman. She can go jump in the lake for all I care.
Well, it makes me think of, it was just something about Matrix, it kind of gave me the vibe of Lucy mixed with
Yeah.
the Matrix. I don't know if I've seen this.
And what's it called?
Some of the Ghost, or she goes in like a virtual world or something. So that's why I say it kind of makes me think of Lucy instead, because you know they always put her in the typecast for such everything. Every movie she made, she's the same thing. But she goes into this virtual world with somebody that's kick-ass. It just made me think too much of maybe like they combine movies or something. It's all 3D as well.
There's some actors and actresses I work with not watching that, so because I don't want to give them any money, and I know that's just my own opinion, and that's the way I want to say. That's all I'm gonna say. I'll just say one more thing. You don't get on national TV and tell people how to vote. You don't do that, and that's what they did. About 10, well, there was 2 well-known actors, and there was about 8 that I'd never seen before. I don't know who they were. Maybe they'd done commercials or something. And they got on there and basically said that if you were voting for this person, you're wrong and stupid and racist, and you should vote for this person. You don't do things like that. Yeah, I just, if you live in Hollywood, then you live in a dream world. That's why they voted, and then we'll say who they voted for. But anyway, so here we go. Y minus parentheses equals M bracket X minus parentheses. And what is Y sub 1? And negative 5. Y minus 5 is equal to 4 times X plus 5. Y minus 5 is equal to 4X plus what? And Y is equal to 4X plus what?
So we stopped there.
Because we find an equation.
That's not second guessing myself on others.
That's it. Now, there's 2 other things I want to show you. And these are just rules. And X is equal to a number. It's parallel with the y-axis. Therefore, it's parallel with the y-axis. What kind of a line is it? Starts with a V. Vertical.
Sorry, I'm still on the building line.
And if it's a vertical line, the slope does not what? Exist or unfold.
So,
I'll draw you a couple of examples. X is equal to 4. As an example. Another example. X is equal to -2. That is a vertical line. Now, a lot of people say, well, what's the difference in that and what you've been showing us? Well, first of all, the first two I showed you, or the first things I showed you, was all in terms of what? Y. This says X. All right? When Y is equal to a number, what do you think is parallel to? Parallel to the x-axis. Therefore, what kind of line is it? Horizontal line. Which means that M is equal to 0. Y is equal to 2. Y is equal to -1/2. So if you ever have y is just equal to a number, when you say, well, if you said y, in the first couple of pages as notes, we had y is equal to mx plus b. And we had y is equal to mx. And we had y is equal to 2x plus 4. And we had y is equal to whatever, -4x minus 2. These are not that. Okay? These have a variable in them. These are equations. This just says y is equal to what? 2. There's no x's, there's no b's, there's no anything. It's just y is equal to 2. If y is equal to a number by itself, no x's, no b's, no anything, then it's a horizontal line. If x is equal to just a number by itself, no y's, no anything, it's a vertical line. So this is not this. This is not this. This is just y is equal to a number. This is what the first couple of pages of notes were on. 1 through 3, page 1 through 3 notes is on this. This page is just what if y is equal to a number and x is equal to a number. And that's what it is. I'm talking about maybe 1 or 2 questions on the test at 10 or 20. Not too many. Most of all, you're going to be doing this stuff. The first 3 or 4 pages of notes, that's what you're going to be tested on in the graphing. And then how to graph. And then the last property if you have equal slopes with different intercepts, which is your B, then you have parallel lines. Example, y is equal to 1/2 plus 3, 1/2x plus 3. And y is equal to 1/2x minus 7. What is the slope on both of these? 1/2. Are they equal? Then these two lines are parallel. And they have to give you two equations. They can't give you one equation and say, oh, these lines parallel. They have to give you two equations to compare. So these two are parallel. Y is equal to 2x plus 3. Y is equal to 4x minus 2. Parallel or not parallel? Not parallel. Because the slopes are not what? Equal. They're not equal. So therefore, not parallel. And then what are the rules? Finish the last set two rules. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. What are the slopes of the opposite reciprocal? If slopes are, and I put opposite reciprocal. I don't know if that's right. Opposite. Is that spelled right? Yeah. Opposite reciprocals. This is where you put this. What the? If slopes are opposite reciprocals, then they are, what does that stand for? Perpendicular lines. Now, what is the opposite reciprocals? Let's go over reciprocals. If I give you 3 over 1, what's the opposite reciprocal? Well, this one is positive because there's nothing there. So what's the opposite of 3 over 1? Negative 1/3. The reciprocal is 1/3. The opposite of positive is what? Negative. So that's a little review. So if I give you y is equal to 3x minus 6, and y is equal to negative 1/3 x plus 2, then you would say that these two are what? Perpendicular, because negative 1/3 is the opposite reciprocal of 3 over 1. Now, just to go over what you should know, and I don't want you to do any of the 6.6 homework yet, because we're going to finish 6.6 Wednesday. I don't want you to get ahead, so y'all have another day off as far as homework goes on 6.6. You can work on chapter 3 or unit 3 if you want to. You know, the autopilot chapter, what is it? Chapter is what? I'm sorry, what? 7 and 8. Yeah. You can work on that homework, but don't work on this one because I'm going to finish it Wednesday. But this is what you're responsible for as far as so far. 1, you should be able to know the X and Y axis. That should come from prior. You should know how to plot a point. You should know how to draw a line. And then, of course, what we went over today, down to parallel, let's see, parallel and perpendicular lines. Now that includes all the properties of Grafton. Wednesday, we will cover the three methods of graphing. In other words, how to graph. There's three methods, and we'll cover that Wednesday. And then after Wednesday, you'll not only be able to do your 6.6 homework, but you'll be able to get ready for the test, which is on 6.6. Okay, y'all can go ahead. Everybody's here today, and Miss Battles is Skyping in. So everybody can go home. Y'all have a good day, and see y'all Wednesday.